Chapter 5: Auras, Grounding, Magic, and Vital Forces. When I awoke that morning, I couldn't help but feel a little lost, dazed, and confused. I'd been dreaming when I saw that spiritual woman, so had I really seen a mystical muse? Most mornings, I'd gotten in the habit of sending out smoke signals to the world, but now I felt withdrawn on the inside. The fading memory of the golden woman was all I had, and I was certain her dreamy fortune was somewhere in the wild.
Do not feel lonely. The entire universe is inside you. Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion through us all,
said the white buffalo. I'm caught by the dragon of worthlessness, because I feel a longing now that the mystical woman is gone. I should be happy to be awake and alive in this world, but a part of me cannot seem to rise for this world's dawn. And so the white buffalo took out his drum and began to beat it.
We're leaving our time now. We're leaving our time now. We're going to a time that is slower than ours, or faster than ours. It's upon our time, or below our time, or in our time, or around our time. And we honor space in this time. We honor the four directions: east, west, north, and south. And we honor the fifth direction, which is inside of us, inside our bodies and minds,
said the white buffalo. My mind kept going back to her memory, and so I simply rolled over. The world seemed to be teasing me in my dreams. Oh, the horror! Now the white buffalo brought his hands around me, then picked me up so I was turned upside down. He was such a big beast that he began to shake me all around. Blood rushed to my head. Pennies and a thimble fell from my pocket. What do you think you're doing? Stop it!
It's called grounding, and since you can't seem to do it for yourself, someone has to get you moving. Get rid of your shoes. Donate them to the dandelions and daffodils. You're never going to find your muse if you keep sleeping. Get up, sleepyhead, and summon your courage and will. Transform yourself out of this slumber. Arise at once. Do not spend the whole day depressed in bed. Stop it, you silly human dunce. Turn yourself into a hobbit. Convert yourself into an elf. Become a bear and go looking for honey. Or maybe you'll spend your days looking for your lover like a big horned elk,
said the white buffalo. What are you talking about?
We're connecting back to the earth, but you're still wishing you were in the mind's dreamland, drifting through the cosmos. But come on and get grounded, silly creature. Get out there and smell the roses, he said. But I'm just a poor human. Look at my skin. I can't change who I am. I just had the most perfect dream of a magnificent woman, and the pinnacle of her love disappeared in the wind. I want to find her, but I cannot turn into a hobbit or an elf. Wrong. You can be whatever you want out in the wild woods, because you've got the power to determine who you are as your own unique self,
he said. My shoulders were slouched, and I knew my face had a pout, but all I saw on the white buffalo was a giant smile and excitement beaming out. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about magic. I'm talking about the enchantments that make our world astounding. But first, a person needs to feel settled, relaxed, and in touch with the earth, and so we call this grounding. In other words, when we speculate about the idea of grounding, it actually means taking place in your country, in your own state, in your own space, and that's where you live. There is something in the ground there, a connection into that which grows, and most of the whole human culture is ungrounded. That's why this is something you must know. We often live in a culture completely without ground, because we've left the pure garden where the heavenly fruit used to grow. That's what the muse must have been getting at. I'm sure that's what she was trying to show. She's teaching you in your dreams, but often we're too stupid to know. This notion of grounding brings everything together. It synchronizes your feelings with the wilderness and all its creatures. Because if you wander out in the woods with that crappy attitude, then no friends will want to get near you. The flowers will turn their backs to you, and even the trees would uproot themselves if only to get away. You might even see a pine topple over as it yells at you, "I'd rather die than hang out with you for another day." And so I practice grounding when I'm farming. Sometimes I practice in my dreams, which fuels my imagination. And it all comes together in my life's work, which can appear as a surreal mixture of symbols, images, fables, and it's even hidden in many languages. We learn from what is happening, and we cultivate connections back into the earth. Don't let the mind get hung up on these symbols or signs. Just take note, reflect, and simply observe. But we need to get moving and get back to work. Another way to ground is through hard work upon the earth. Get up early, maybe at 5:30 a.m. every day to move, read, write, reflect, just sit, or maybe it's working out or a yoga practice that you're called to do. But the principle is to get out of bed and move. Some know the hours between 3:30 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. as Brahma Muhurta, the time of God. It is the time when the ancient sages believe the entire atmosphere is charged with an electromagnetic intelligence. Therefore, if you wake up during this time, you'll fill yourself with unlimited energy of excellence. This is a period that begins 1 hour and 36 minutes before sunrise and ends 48 minutes before sunrise. So if the sun were to rise at 6 a.m., then the time of God begins at 4:24 a.m. and ends at 5:12 a.m.,
said the white buffalo. So what's your goal with all this?
The goal of life is to make your heartbeat match the beat of the universe, to match your human nature with wild nature, and once you do that, you'll find your muse,
said the white buffalo. So she's really out there.
Or what if she's in here and out there? You never know where fairies hide, because fairies don't die. Even if they leave this world, they'll always be whispering secrets within the dream space of the heart and the mind. You see, your muse is like a genius, and you can't get rid of her. So maybe you'll get lucky and cross paths with her in this life, or maybe she'll embody the form of a real woman and you'll actually live to meet and marry her,
said the white buffalo. So she's real or she isn't? Which is it?
Oh, she's present, but it doesn't seem like you're willing to listen. She's here and there. She comes and goes. But if you get stuck being attached to your wandering mind, then your sad and sappy thoughts will keep you looking for her for a very long and lonely time. You've got to get grounded to the earth. You've got to build a path with good energy. And once she sees that you've put in the hard work, she'll be sure to find you and help set you free,
said the white buffalo. So how will she know?
It's what you show. A muse sees more than your body. She can also see your aura. And think of this like an energy you emit, but humans tend to ignore it. In the center of the physical is the life of the soul, and around it is the body, which radiates the lines of forces, which we call the subtle energies that flow. Some think of them as shields, others call them auras or koshas. Even though our eyes can't see them, it's what our energy, emotions, and mind are trying to show us. Think of these auras like disease armor. If one of these shields wears down, then it's likely that some sort of sickness is going to get ya. One aura is the vital aura. It's affected by our overall health. It can wear down depending on lack of sleep, the food we eat, along with not enough vitamins. And once we drink alcohol, well, this vital aura pretty much turns off. Under normal conditions, this etheric body radiates through the pores of the skin in a form resembling fine fur, extending several inches beyond the body. This is why animals can smell fear, because they have senses that are turned to notice the force fields we embody. This grounding theory teaches us that germs are more astral and metaphysical than substantial. Surely you've heard of COVID, and isn't it astonishing that the people who took care of their health, mind, and body might have caught it, but never really got sick? As a result, when the vital aura is strong around the body, it protects man against evil forces and influences from both the physical and etheric worlds. Now, if man or woman is run down or debilitated, or the vital forces are depleted, then this aura loses its power and allows 1,000 external influences to tear down our strength and courage. It also permits disease elements to enter, and this can be fatal. But so the opposite can occur. Someone with a strong and healthy aura can even appear to glow. Outside the aura is the egg-shaped astral body, which is said to be centered in the liver and surrounds the areas of the greatest sensation. This astral body is ever-changing in color, and it is said to be linked to the chakras, or energy centers, which are connected to the emotions and feelings of any human. It is glorious, radiant, iridescent, and never appears twice the same. Then outside this is the mental body, and it appears as a highly developed egg shape. This bulges through the area of greatest intelligence, since these bodies are clairvoyant and appear as impenetrating globes of light, and constitute causal bodies behind motion, emotion, and rationality expressed over the dense physical body. Have you ever looked at someone and just had a feeling of what they were thinking? Chances are you might be tuning into their astral or mental body. And have you heard of clairvoyants, psychics, or mind readers? They found out how to tune into these bodies, and so to the normal human, we might think they have special powers. Then there's the point between the eye and the forehead, which emits human consciousness, and so it's called the Holy Tabernacle. Think of this as the command station or remote control center that allows you to change channels. Ever been in a bad mood, but then you see something silly? 1 minute you're mad, then the next you're laughing. It's because your Holy Tabernacle changed channels. You switched from channel 2 to channel 4. And if you want to stay angry, then you can go back to the previous channel, or you can go to channel 5, 6, 8, 99, or explore many others. This is how you can create new mental patterns, by observing what channels you like to watch. It's the same way people in their living rooms tend to enjoy the sports shows or news talk. These can be a comfortable place, but it doesn't mean the other channels don't exist. It's just where we like to pinpoint our minds, and so this channel becomes the state of our existence where we tend to live. To understand how to control the Holy Tabernacle, you must first attain the aspect of intelligent living, for the vitality is extracted from the atmospheres around you, and so the best places to start are the natural forces of the earth, like air, water, forests, oceans, and that's why we call this grounding. We can get power from the sun's rays, from our food, and from all energy sources. Through gradual purification and regeneration of emotions and feelings, the human gradually gains control of that mental vortex. This vortex could be thought of like a powerful presence. Can you think of a time when you've been amazed after someone enters the room? It's as if you can feel their energy when they arrive, and once you look upon them, you feel a sense of power, authority, or greatness that looms. This presence can do many things, both in the physical and material world, but it also extends to the mental, emotional, and spiritual moods, and when we cultivate it correctly, it can put you in harmony with divine aspects of God. With all that being said, It means that each thought, emotion, and action is accordingly important. And when we tune ourselves properly, we bring ourselves even closer to the day of an individual and collective liberation. Substances like alcohol and heavy drugs can destroy our vital aura or vortex in an instant. Go walk into a bar with drunks, and you'll see that there's so much missing energy. They call alcohol spirits for a reason, because bars and taverns are where dead spirits seem to hang. And so some humans are halfway there. And that's why, when a person might get sober, their entire life, aura, and outlook begins to change. Beware of any substance, power, or quality that paralyzes the etheric energy bodies, since they leave a person with after effects like the Sunday scaries or hardcore hangovers. Anyone who consciously seeks to improve himself or herself should be aware of the vital aura, etheric bodies, and the holy tabernacle. In order to gain control, you must first be very honest with yourself, and then through this honest observation, you can work on tuning your body, mind, and spirit the same way a TV changes channels. Once we achieve this, our work begins to rid the inner world of so much that is undesirable,
said the white buffalo. Holy moly, this is it. How did you come up with this brilliance? It's perfect.
I didn't. It's my muse's wisdom,
said the white buffalo. You've got a muse?
Yup, and she came to me the same way yours is coming to you. It starts with a few hints, then you get a glimpse, and after that, she'll lead you, tease you, and tempt you like any little forest nymph would do. Now, if you were a girl, you'd also have a muse, but it would likely be masculine, and it works in the same way to grab someone's attention,
said the white buffalo. So what is this magic you know so much about?
Well, magic comes in two kinds, and the way you access it is by controlling the mind,
said the white buffalo. What are the two kinds of magic?
First off, we should note that evil will never cease to exist until selfishness and greed are overcome as factors in dictating the attitudes of men and women. It is common for the concrete mind of humans to sacrifice the eternal to the temporal. Humans have a way of concentrating upon the limited and material world we call the known, only to lose sight of the effects of his or her actions upon the limitless area of the unknown we call the divine. Short-sightedness, consequently, is the cause of endless misery. Moral short-sightedness results in vice, philosophical short-sightedness in materialism, religious short-sightedness in bigotry, and rational short-sightedness in fanaticism. Wise is the man or woman who serves the greatest end. Wise is the man or woman who makes you think they are a fool. Whatever be the cost, the thing which men and women have called harmony, and which nature knows as perfect, is worth all that must be paid for it. So let me ask, why do you think we would do the work called grounding?
Asked the white buffalo. So we don't lose our minds and get short-sighted or go berserk. That's why we do the grounding work.
Bingo ringo, you're my man with the plan. Now the key is adjustments, and this is the establishment of harmonious relationships between universal planes and energies of nature and the centers of the body consciousness in man. Selfishness promotes self-interest and self-gratification. This is why the Garden of Eden you saw in your vision slowly vanished, because the soul started to live more and more to the attainment of its own desires, and before anyone knew it, the road to heaven was paved with advertisements from Arby's, Wendy's, McDonald's, billboards, and sex shops just off the freeway. The pure way was lost because our mind space was stolen. All it took was the desires of man to overwhelm the world before our marketing tactics seemed to pollute everyone,
said the white buffalo. I see it every day, and that's why I went into the forest. to lose my material mind so that the spiritual soul could get nourished.
Now, when we think of magic, first we must know the definition of magic, which is this. Magic is the art of manipulating the unseen forces of nature. A magician is one who is capable of juggling the four elements of bodies. A white magician is one who is laboring to gain the confidence of the powers that be, and to prove that through purity of their life, that their sincerity of motive is worthy to be entrusted by the Great Spirit, and so they are granted the wand of the Magnus. The black magician is the one who seeks to gain authority over spiritual powers by means of force rather than by merit. In other words, the black magician is the one who is trying to storm the gates of heaven. This is the one who is seeking spiritual power and occult domination with an ulterior motive. The black magician's motto is, "Might is right," while the white magician's motto is, "Right is might." That right will ultimately triumph. It's undeniable, and so the black magician will fall victim to their own excess. Still, we must be aware of the power of the black magicians in the world, since there are many who walk among us, so many in fact, that many common people follow, bow, and idolize these black magicians in the media, TV, Hollywood, politics, courts, sports, and elsewhere. And the powers these black magicians hold put many people in danger. Only fools underestimate this danger. Wise men protect against it. For an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We have reached a period in the history of the world where ignorance is criminal and serves the heaviest penalty. Ignorance is not black magic, but it is the greatest ally that the black magician has in the world today. People who don't know any better are constantly doing a black magician's dirty work. That is the fruitage of their indolence. People must realize they cannot straddle the fence between right and wrong. Those who are not striving for the highest partake of the lowest. Black magicians become a channel for dark forces and launch a stream of hell demons into the world. Think of Hitler here, and in doing so, these black magicians sell their own souls in exchange for the powers that these demons will give them over their fellow man and woman. You can also spot a black magician quickly if they are trying to show off their powers openly with an egoic attitude. Have you ever felt a strange repugnance for a certain person? Now, this could be a mirrored reflection of you, or it could be an intuitive awareness of them. It really just depends. These are the thought forms which permeate the aura of the person in question. As a black magician may pollute you with dark forces, a white magician may reflect your nature back like a mirror, and so you must learn to trust your intuition. It should also be said that the laws of nature obey no man. They know neither virtue nor vice. The forces of nature are like the one-eyed cyclops of the Greeks. They are giants that fulfill their predestined work, unmoved by right or wrong use of their forces. The wise man and woman obeys the laws of the substances within which he and she works, and thereby causes these substances to work through him or her. But if they break the laws of the energies they are controlling, or are killed, the natural forces destroy without reluctance or discrimination. A powerful and devastating example of this would be seen as the disappearance of Atlantis. How else could such a great civilization come crashing down? The powers of the white magicians shifted and were harnessed by the powers of black magicians, and so Atlantis was destroyed. A similar possibility could be examined in ancient Egypt, where the once flourishing landscape of the pyramids seemed to be built as a spiritual power grid, offering spiritual insight, energy, and health to everyone, only to fall in the wrong hands and be consumed by desert sands. Like the magicians of India, by the means of this knowledge, they work miracles and manipulate the forces of nature. But woe to him or her if those ends are not in harmony with the natural plan. This knowledge is much like wealth. It can be both a blessing and a curse. Those who hold power over nature's tremendous influences have become wielders of the serpent scepter, or as pictured by Hermes and Mercury, he holds the caduceus. And so I must repeat myself by saying, wise is the man or woman who serves the greatest end. Whatever be the cost, the thing which men and women have called harmony, and which nature knows as perfect, is worth all that must be paid for it. The white magician consecrates his or her life to study, meditation, and service, so that he or she may know the law and may direct force to its appointed ends. He and she molds himself or herself into a vessel of the divine plan, becoming part of the divine rhythm by sacrificing himself or herself and their wishes to the will of the infinite, asking only to know wherein his or her duty lies and how he or she may be of greatest service to the highest calling. On the other hand, the black magician is firmly of the belief that he and she knows what they need, when in reality, they only know what they want. Here they try to mold the plan according to their personal desires. A black magician would believe that the universe wants him and her to be greater than his or her fellow men and women. A white magician seeks control over himself and herself, while a black magician seeks to obtain control over others. As we explore this deeper, we see that consciousness has 4 centers. There are 4 tangible assets which he or she may consecrate to the attainment of reality: the mind, the heart, the vitality, and the physical body. A man or woman may be forced to serve another if someone can temporarily or permanently secure dominion over any of these 4 centers. For example, let's examine the nature of gangs. The head honcho will have put the initiates through tests and processes in the hopes that they will get a certain control over them. Once the initiate's mind, heart, vitality, or physical body loses its own dominion, it will feel as if they are controlled by another. And so we can also examine this type of situation when it comes to relationships of abusive lovers. One party seems to have a grip over someone else, and how can we make sense of this control? It could be said there's a certain power that they have over another person's soul. These bonds can be really hard to break, and that is why we call them black magicians, because they seek to control others without the other person's permission. In essence, a person could become a sort of submissive slave. They may stay in a gang, willing to lose their life for someone they hate, or the victim of an abusive lover may never understand why they cannot get freed and escape. To secure control over the vital body is to secure the vitality of another person, as is vampirization, where one person lives off the life essences of another. Here the astral body is attacked through an excess of feeling such as religious frenzy, grief, fear, or hate. When a black magician realizes that he or she can influence others that are incapable of reasoning because of emotional excess, the black magician will awaken these emotional excesses for the purpose of influencing the weaker person. As in the case of an evangelistic revival, such is an instigating mind of the black magician, which could also be called a narcissist. We see this mindset in cults such as the New Age twin flame cult leaders. Mental black magic is complicated since it includes practically all prosperity of metaphysics, autosuggestion, mental suggestion, occult treatments, hypnosis, mesmerization, personality culture, and many other ideas too numerous to mention. In one way or another, a person gains power over the other, and this is used for the aggrandizement of the stronger. There are subtler aspects of black magic, which may be unknown to those who are using these methods. Such are the ways and perversions of business and psychological salesmanship. This could be thought of as fear-based selling, making someone terrified of what could happen if they don't invest or buy a product, lying about a car's parts longevity, or trying to sell someone for the seller's benefit of commission or sale. This is a very touchy subject because it is so apparent in our modern world. These business systems have started with an intention to create admirable work and opportunities, but brings endless sorrow to whoever attempts to use them. This may be the very reason so few people feel connected to their work. It could be the reason behind the Great Resignation of 2020. It seems man has long considered happiness to lie in dominating others, or keeping up with the standard of the Joneses. Through the ages, society has attempted either to imitate or control others, instead of acquiring self-control and unfolding the individuality which makes him or her different from all other things and gives him or her a power of excelling in something. Whatever person exchanges their daily life of service for mental shortcuts and excuses his or her vices instead of mastering them, then we are falling under the influence of black magic, a subtle power which caters to the worst in us. People are externally trying to walk out of difficulties instead of trying to work with them. The result is always fatal, where the problem evaded must be forever the problem unmastered. And so, black magic appeals to the mass mind. It is propagated in all the egoic pop music, rap, rock, and hit songs which promote one's individual life, wealth, and ego, since it deters the masses from spiritual realization and union toward the inner nature of our spiritual power. Today's black magic is so immense that it's broadcasted all over TV, the internet, religions, and billboards, which have overtaken the principles of our civilization. If Jesus, Muhammad, Krishna, or any great saint were alive today, would they be sickened at the churches and what our world has become? And so, what must be done? Of course, as long as there is still soulful goodness that can be found in a single human heart, then the power of the white magician will remain as a menace to the ways of our wicked world. The most important key of all may be this: honesty and integrity, which are the deadly enemies of black magic, and it holds no terror for the individual who is true to himself or herself, and so they are true to the golden rule. In this way, he and she can protect his and her own soul, and the family and friends they love, from the insidious and unnatural powers,
said the white buffalo. So there must be a great magician. Who is the one that is better than the rest? How would I know who holds the ultimate power? Is there a name for the magician who is the very best?
As white magicians are seen as just, virtuous, righteous, and good, black magicians act from their egos, but not every black magician is simply bad. In my humble opinion, I would say that the ultimate magician protects the world, and so the greatest magician is the one who endures the deepest transformation one human may have. Think of the white magician as our North Pole, or we may think of them as the North Star. But what would happen if someone was able to transform themselves from the bottom of darkness to the pinnacle of light? Then there would be a great transformation, and much wisdom would be found in taking a journey that far. This is the path of the unicorn, who could be covered in a layer of black ash, as they would have gone from the bottom of the very below, then rise through the darkness to offer up their light to the greater good at last,
said the white buffalo. So the one who endures such darkness to shine so bright is called a unicorn.
Yes, but the unicorn's path is unknowable, and so we can call their life the fable of the night's life of starlight,
said the white buffalo. Whoa, so there is great power available to us all, if only we are able to wake up and discover it.
All treasure is within thy soul. There is nothing you are without. thou shalt attain it through God's grace. When the inner door is opened, you'll know all of the divine mysteries' whereabouts,"
said the white buffalo. And so the white buffalo took a moment to be alone, and so I took time to gaze out upon the forest and reflect on the wisdom I had heard. Just then, I turned back to glance at the white buffalo when there was something auspicious that I observed. Why, his fur was as bright as starlight, but his skin was black as ash under the fur-colored white. What was his path and story? Was it he that lived a fable of the night's life of the starlight?